I decided to start recording. I should have done this earlier. Sorry, guys.
Well, anyway, that's the lowdown on the Macrium Reflect 8. As far as I know it, Tim knows more.
How do you clone a disk?
Okay. Again, this is something I won't be able to show right now, but let me see.
You do it from that rescue media thing?
No, you do not have to, and you don't. Other tasks. No, but it's not another task. Backup. Basically, cloning is image selected disks.
Okay.
And you image the entire disk onto another disk. You image the entire disk onto either a blank disk or overwrite another disk.
So I need to load Macrium Reflect onto a disk that I'm going to clone.
No. Oh. You take Macrium Reflect from wherever it is, and you can only clone inactive disks or partitions. I usually clone a partition at a time. If you clone a partition, it cannot be the partition you are using. It can only be a partition that is not active. If you do try to clone an active partition, it'll reboot, and yes, you would probably want to do that off the rescue media instead. So and that would allow you to clone an entire disk.
So could you actually have Macrium Reflect on a USB that you could plug into your computer, and then your disk that you want to clone to plugged into your other USB, and actually,
oh, yeah.
So that way you'd be running off of the USB and clone the thing that's on your main computer to the one that you've hooked up.
That is how you take a computer that comes with Windows on a hard drive, and you clone either the disk or the operating system partition to an SSD, in order to speed up your computer. That's one of the uses of cloning. So yes, you can do your Windows system if you boot from the rescue media and you have the drive to which you want to clone it plugged in. Or if it's an SSD, it's just in the SSD slot internally. Be very careful about selecting which is the source and which is the destination. Cloning is where you can really mess things up. But yeah, you can clone, and that'll be 1-for-1, and it should be bootable. I have other tools that are more reliable than Macrium Reflect for cloning NTFS, and I have tools that are less reliable. So you can do a lot of different things. I also have tools that will repair an NTFS partition or any kind of a disk. But Macrium Reflect is good for making backups, good for making clones, good for restoring from backups. And I think the incremental and differential, some of those features are only available in the paid edition. And you find that out when you try to use them. So I'm not sure you can do the differential and incremental in the free edition. I think incremental you can.
You're saying you may not be able to clone in with a free edition?
Oh, you can clone with a free edition. I've done that.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to stop my share right now, and we can get back to everybody else. So I hope I haven't muddied things up too much for everybody. And if so, we can always ask Tim to straighten us out.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. For those that might have joined late, I loaded on Macrium Reflect on my laptop, never used it before, and Bob was basically giving me a walkthrough on that at everybody's expense, but also so everyone could learn through this. Welcome, everybody, to the December edition of the Tips and Tricks SIG, which we started, but we didn't say we started. I see somebody came in at the end, but I don't see a name attached to the person. Who is Thorn Creek EC?
Chuck Derringer.
That's Chuck.
Yeah, Derringer, yes.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
Do you have video?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Mike, you could also rename. There you go. You can change your name on there too, so it reflects who you are instead of a company name. Thank you. I just want to know if we were being invaded.
No. No.
So anyway, Sanford, I would suggest that we ask at one of these meetings that a presentation be done on Macrium Reflect Free 8 and what's new in it and what you can do with it.
Okay.
Yes.
It'd be a West Side thing. So I could put that down as a topic for West Side. I'm going to, oh, I can't minimize. I'm going to have to make a note of that later on. For some reason I can't get to my desktop. Well, maybe this way I can. Bear with me.
At least open up Notepad and do it.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. Okay, being part of a computer club, I think all of us are doing backups. The Macrium, I've heard of it. I've been using something called Cobian for the past like 20 years with different editions, and it's free. And it's got basically the differential, incremental, the full. So is everybody using different types of backups programs?
How do you spell that? Covium. C-O-V-I-U-M?
C-O-B as in boy, I-A-N. Cobian.
I've never heard of that one.
Picked it up about 20 years ago. And
is it free or is it a purchase product?
Okay, and I've tried some of the other ones, acronyms, whatever, but I always go back to this one.
Is Cobian free?
Yes.
Can you can you put a link to it in the chat?
I'm gonna try.
All right. Which is a discussion we could have on a West Side group or even here. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Since we're polling, what does everybody use for backup? Bert, what software, what do you use?
I've used different things, but some of it's the Microsoft stuff, the Windows 7 version.
Okay. Oh, the Windows 7 backup.
Windows backup.
Right. Which I found has not been working on my new laptop, but would work on my previous Windows 10 laptop. Don't know why. Both would be pointing to the same direction, the same place. The new one sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work, for what it's worth. I don't know what's entailed on restoring, though, from the Windows 7 one. Whether you can do a boot media and restore or what.
Well, I also, back up several different places, all of my data and programs. So your problem is that when you have depends on your machine or a new operating system, you probably have to load the operating system. So it's the data that's in program levels that are more important to back up.
Well, I agree. It's the settings that drive me freaking nuts. I mean, where you put things, icons, sizes, pointers, security passwords and stuff like that. That's the stuff I want reloaded back in.
Well, having that several places or maybe OneDrive with their Vault is a possibility somebody could use.
Okay, Bob, we know what you're using. Carl, what are you using for backup?
Microsoft.
Okay, Wayne?
Windows, Microsoft.
the Windows 7. Dennis?
Well, I'm still using an XP computer, and my wife has an 8.1. And the only thing I back up, I do a lot of stuff in Excel or Word, and I just back up to a USB stick. Any Excel spreadsheet, any Word spreadsheet that I create, any WordPad document that I create, I don't really worry about I never have worried about it. We're backing up the operating system. Never have, never needed to. I really don't load a lot of software on my machines. I just basic internet browsing and Excel, Word, WordPad, and that's about it. So
are you saying that you currently are on an XP box, or are you on your wife's Windows 8?
Currently, I'm on her 8.1.
Okay.
But day to day, I still use my XP, and I want to get this other machine converted over to Linux, and that's going to become my daily machine.
Gotcha. All right. Pete, what are you using?
Okay, for most of my my files, I'm mirroring on one of my 2 OneDrives so that I don't have to carry stuff back and forth between the 2 machines, the one at home and the one here. So my important files, other than my photos, are mirrored on my OneDrives, because I've got 2 of them. And my OS, I'm using Windows for.
Okay. Alan, what are you doing?
Well, I use Time Machine on my Mac.
Time Machine. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and that works great.
Oh,
on my, I got several PCs. One, I have an XP, but that's not connected to the internet. It just runs one financial program. That's all it does. And I should back that up, but I don't. Actually, I have that program on 2 XPs that I have, kind of like the backup XP in case the other one goes bad. But I haven't backed it up. But I am talking with the guy who runs this, who operates. This is a program that hasn't. It's a DOS program that hasn't seen a new version for about 20 years. And the guy, and I was just this last week talking to this guy who still moderates that group, and he's going to set me up with a special backup to a stick, because I can't, if that drive goes bad, I can't buy another drive that's that old anymore. I don't think they sell them. So he says he can back it up to a stick, and it doesn't matter what, I can put it on my current machine.
Okay. On
my current PC, I bought what's that? The program that there's a guy on CCS that sells this program. I forget what it's
Acronis True Image Home.
That's it. I bought that, and then for some reason it wasn't deleting the old backups. I couldn't figure out how to get it to do that, and so it probably hasn't backed up for the last few years. But I don't really care what's on that machine that much, so I want to buy a new machine anyway. That one's I built that one about 8-9 years ago. It's time to replace it. So
Alan, when was the last time you updated Acronis, the program?
Oh, I haven't updated that. You mean
got a new version?
Forever ago.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. True Image will not continue to make backups after you stop paying for it for a few years.
Oh.
Well, you know what I think about True Image? Screw them.
Yeah, I think there are viable alternatives. There's Macrim Reflect.
That's what I would do. So when you do that that thing with Westside, you know I have a conflict. I can't make it. So please record that, because that's what I'm gonna switch to, Bob. I mean, that's clearly. And the other thing that really peed me off is I actually called up True Image to get a and paid for some help at one point. And they charged me, you know, and their tech support charged me an amount. That's okay. But then they charged me tax. And I'm thinking, what?
They charge tax on their services. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, gee, there must be a class action attorney I know somewhere.
No, it depends on the state where their headquarters are. Some states do allow taxing services.
Really?
Massachusetts generally, no, you're not allowed to.
Well, don't worry.
Illinois, you're not allowed to.
Call me McCronis from now on. Because I'm not, you know, I haven't used it. I can delete it. I don't really care. But you've talked me into Macronis. That's it.
Into Macrium, you mean?
Whatever that, yeah.
Yeah, either Macrium or I'm hearing good things about Cobian because it can do more than Macrium can do.
Really?
So
well, maybe I'll hold on and see what y'all decide to do.
If somebody wants to present about Cobian, then we can find out and make a little comparison.
I think Aldo already said that he's willing to do that.
Yeah, we can compare. We can compare.
We're going to put Aldo down sometime next year. I'll look at the schedule at some point and assign you, Aldo, because you look the perfect person to do this.
Okay. 1 year's experience should be enough.
And I can tell you something else about Linux. I have totally different ways that I back up Linux, because with Linux, since it's free there's no licensing of anything, what you do is very different. There are ways of backing up all your software without ever making a backup. All you have to do is back up some markings in your favorite what is it called? In your favorite well, anyway, it's a program manager that you have in Windows, and there are different repositories, and you can back up everything that I use. And if I can't back it up there, I have other ways of backing things up. And then you can clone Linux if you want with Clonezilla, which is a very command line DOS-like program, and it makes actual clones, exact copies, or it can do it compressed. It can make an image. Other than that, you know, you've got Time Machine on your Apple. You've got similar things in Linux, which will take all the important stuff, back it up, and then you just reinstall the latest, greatest version of everything, just from the markings.
Cool.
But you've got fresh copies of everything. And I think Bert is waiting to say something.
I was going to ask if anybody backs up their OneDrive.
I don't think anyone here does.
I mean, there's a lot of data now that goes right to OneDrive. Like if you're using OneNote, it's all cloud-based now. And so all that stuff gets stored in OneDrive. And I've never seen anything that would let you, unless you download each file, which you wouldn't want to do. I've never seen anything that could back that up. You're relying on Microsoft.
There is one thing you got to remember about OneDrive. You delete it on that drive, you have deleted it everywhere it's connected to.
Of course.
So if you don't actually copy the file off to a hard drive somewhere else, you don't have a copy that you can get to if OneDrive dies.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, so you're relying on Microsoft to be maintaining that drive, literally, and there's no backups that I've ever heard of that talk to it.
I would expect Microsoft to have large cloud servers with humongous RAIDs to do that.
Yeah, but if you accidentally delete something from OneDrive, as you say, you've got no recourse if you haven't done a backup. And here's what the backup is in Windows: file history. can include OneDrive. Windows file history.
I
yes, you can.
I want to finish pulling the rest. Chuck, what do you use for backup? Chuck, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah. Basically a thumb drive and OneDrive. OneDrive is an option, but I don't do too much that needs backing up. I'm doing a lot of things on YouTube and doing some video stuff with my GoPro. So I'm not spending a lot of time on it.
Okay. And Harry, what are you using?
I'm still using Windows 7 backup, but I've also run a Passport that picks up file history, and occasionally, I don't do it regularly enough, but occasionally I'll make an image and pass that on to the Passport too.
Well, that's a good idea. All right, so you're using an external hard drive that you keep locally.
Right. So
okay.
I can.
Well, this has been a great topic. Let
me post one last thing about OneDrive backup.
Okay.
Now I've got to get the address of it. You guys can continue while I'm doing this.
Aldo. Hold on, Aldo.
Right here.
Okay. You volunteered to do a presentation on Cobian.
Okay.
Would you be willing to do this in April?
April?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Right. All right.
That would be for the West Side group. Is that okay?
That sounds good.
Okay. So I'm going to put you in. That's way down the line, but I figured that would give you plenty of time to get your ducks in a row. And I'm just typing you into my schedule here.
April what?
Well, I got to look. It's the first Thursday of the month in April.
Okay.
So let's see. That would be April 7th.
Got it.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. And then maybe we'll have somebody do something on Macrium Reflect.
If we can possibly get Tim to do it, he'd be brilliant with it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if
we'll have to see what his schedule is.
We'll see what his schedule is. Right. He's been under the weather a lot, so I don't know. Mike, you're last to come in. We were talking backup software, and I'm just pulling to find out what software do you currently use?
I use Microsoft Backup.
Okay, there you go. It looks like Microsoft Backup is the winner in this round mostly because it's free, and most of us have not needed to test it very well, so we don't know how great or how failable it is.
Well, I was going to mention something about OneDrive. The Microsoft announced support for OneDrive desktop app is over if you're on Windows 7, 8, or 8.1. First updates will be cut off starting January 1, 2022. And then the cloud syncs will stop on March 1st of 22, at which point your personal files will no longer sync and should be uploaded or accessed directly on OneDrive for the web.
Oh, look at
that. The end is near for OneDrive desktop app if you're not, and it cuts me off on that, so I lost. But that was part of the news that popped up on a Microsoft thing the other day, a couple of days ago.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. On the other hand, there are some workarounds for it, but they're not pleasant.
Workaround would be to find something else instead. use an external drive, an NAS drive, or something similar so you have control over it and don't count on it going to the cloud.
Or if you want to use a cloud service that does sync, There's plenty of others to choose from.
Yeah, right.
And that was the general conclusion of the folks at Ask Woody, formerly Windows Secrets.
Mhm.
They were not happy about it, to say the least. I think it was Brian Livingston himself who said this. He was not happy about it.
All right, let's go into our open forum. We're kind of late at starting this part, but we kind of went into that. But if I may, there was a few of us in our group that did say they still had a Windows XP box hanging around, and they're still kicking them around, which is fine. I have one myself. It doesn't go online. It's a local machine. But I did find, I will give you a tip, if you will. And that is, at some point, brush yourself up on how to repair the boot menu or the booting of XP. Because I had a problem one day. I turned on my XP machine and it would not boot for the life of me. It just hung. And I could not figure out what the heck was wrong. So the solution was, I went back and found the original installation disk for XP, booted off of that, and performed a repair. And that's all I needed to do. And I didn't have to install anything, just performed a repair, and it worked. So I'm just giving you this as a tip.
Yeah.
You may want to try to find that rescue media that you originally, rescue media or the installation disk for that XP box, and just have it someplace where that box is at. Because one day XP is going to decide it's going to choke on you. I could not get it to go to DOS prompt. I could not get it to boot in DOS mode, safe mode. Nothing worked. But
this is another, this is another reason why you might want to have an image backup, especially if it's that old.
Right. But if you have an image backup, you want to make sure you got to test it and know how to restore and have the restore program, or be able to swap the drives, whichever.
What? Well, the beauty of XP is you can use an old copy of Ghost.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Ghost.
But just make sure you do something. At least rescue your data.
Is Ghost still there?
No. That's why I said it. You might have an old copy hanging around.
Copy.
They didn't sunset software in those days. It never expired.
Well, you can't put Macrium on an XP. I don't think they make it, right?
No.
Well, however, you could use Clonezilla.
Clonezilla?
Clonezilla.
Or ease-use.
So let's say your hard drive on your XP fails.
Yeah.
And you've got a backup. That's great. But your hard drive is shot. So can you find an old SATA drive that'll stick it? I don't even think it's a SATA drive.
They're IDEs. Usually IDE drives.
So can you find an old IDE drive that hasn't been used, or
eBay?
You want to put one that, but those are going to be trash.
eBay.
They're old. New ones?
Believe it or not, there are people out there that have old drives that are in original packages that have never been used. I was searching today for a drive just for the heck of me and ran across this. I was looking at a Hitachi. It was a SATA drive, but it was a Hitachi from 2011. And it was brand new, sealed in the package. Of course, they wanted, I forgot, this is only maybe a gigabyte drive or something like that. And they wanted $200 for this thing.
They know the market.
Yeah.
But so my question remains, what do you do with, you got a backup with IDE formatting, all the sectors, and it's all IDE, and you can't put it on a SATA drive. You can't, you got a backup of it, but you can't do anything with it. So what's the point?
Back it up, Alan, you could back it up. If you have it up and running, you can back it up to a SATA drive, put an external SATA drive, USB, plug it in. If the PC has USB, and I'm assuming it does, you should be able to back up to a SATA or clone it even, running a cloning software. Then you change the box out and put a SATA interface and it'll work. Possibly.
What about a virtual drive?
So you don't need Windows on that SATA drive.
No.
Well, I'm just saying if you wanted to clone it, you could. In XP, the one thing you can do is you can just copy, or you can access all the files directly. If you take that IDE and put it into a caddy, let's say Windows is not working, but the drive still spins and you could still get somehow access to the data. XP is kind of like a DOS interface, so you should be able to access, your files that are stored on there. You're just going to have to look around for the stuff.
But here's my question. So I have this stuff. So how do I can't run it. It's got to run on an XP machine, which means I need to have an IDE drive. I can't, it won't run a SATA drive, even if I have it attached, will it?
Yeah.
Because your hardware doesn't have the SATA interface.
Right. Correct. So maybe I'm just confused, but if you don't have an IDE drive that works, that I can swap out, then
you're SOL in you're SOL in that respect. Yeah. And Alan, I wish we had this conversation less than a year ago, because I pitched all my IDEs, and I had several of them. Probably would have been happy to hand them over to you, some 80 megabytes, some 100 megabytes, or whatever they were. I don't know. They were small.
I would have happily paid you $200 each for it too.
Ellen, what size IDE drive do you need?
I have no idea what it is. It's behind me. I'd have to go take a look.
Well, what do you think it is? What do you think?
It's behind me. It's on this computer. Okay. So I'll tell you.
All right. So while he's looking at that, let's go into our open forum. Okay. Who has the first question of the evening? All right. This is going to go quick.
A what?
Question. Any questions?
Oh.
Computer questions for tonight? None. Oh, this was quick. All right. Well, I do. Let me see. I got to pull up my notes here. My notes. Now this one. Bear with me. I got to pull up my notes again. So I have a problem with Windows 10. Whenever I use, this is happening just recently within the last month or two, and I really have not paid attention. I just thought it was annoying. In Windows 10, when I use a drop-down menu, the listing appears briefly. That it'll say like file, edit, browse something, blah, blah, blah. I'll get the words listed correctly. Then most of it disappears and I'll get some characters. Some of the characters will remain. This is a hard one to illustrate, but I'm not getting, it's like the characters all disappear and only some remain. But if I am able to click on an object, a subject line that's in that drop-down menu, then they'll reappear. They'll repaint. So something is wrong with the video driver, if you will. And I don't know what the heck this is from. The second symptom that I'm getting is when I go to retrieve like in my emails or something, or I'm looking at something and it's a long list of stuff and I'm scrolling down, it'll suddenly stall on painting the rest of the stuff, even though it's only text. It just stalls on it. And then eventually it'll catch up and start painting the rest of the text that's on that screen. So like if I'm pulling up the email notification for tonight's meeting for tips and tricks, I got all the way down to where it's telling you about how to set up Zoom and the options, option 1, option 2, which we all just kind of graze by. It stalls there. and I have to wait for it to reload the rest of it, for it to paint the rest of the screen. This is on a brand new Windows 10 laptop. That's a Core i7. It's not speed. There's no problem here. So what's going on? Anybody?
You have something running in the background that's chewing up the cycles?
Nothing that I can determine.
Try running your thing that shows you all the everything that's running.
Look through the task manager, see if you can find something else that's running.
Okay, so that's a question. Is task manager doing something?
Run task manager and you find out what's sucking up your cycles.
All right, so that's one subject, one thought.
Is this a brand new, you said it's a brand new machine?
Yeah, it's a brand new. Within this year, I purchased it. Within 6
So
months.
you have tech support. You can just ask them; they'll fix it for you, won't they?
Well, that's true. I could go back to call Costco and ask them what the hell's going on, which I haven't done.
If you have the manufacturer website, you can check for driver updates and BIOS updates.
Mm-hmm.
I also check your device manager, see if there are any of those triangles.
I did check device manager. I did not see anything. Good. What I did do just before this meeting, because I noticed it happened just before I started this meeting, I said, well, what the hell's going on here? I saw it, so I deleted my video drivers, rebooted to see if that made a change, and I have not been able to check and see if that's working yet.
Okay.
I could go and
have you downloaded or using Malwarebytes or Avast or some of that kind of thing?
No, I am not. I am only using the Windows
Defense.
Yes, Windows Defender.
Yeah. A couple of versions back on Malwarebytes, I had a problem like that. I would start up and the machine would barely run and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And finally, I happened to look in the task manager one day and it showed that Malwarebytes was using like 90% and it wasn't giving me hardly anything else to work with. And I killed that and went back and went through the settings on it to make sure I had it set so it couldn't run in the background.
All right, let's see if it's doing this. I don't know if it did it because I tried to get it to load up. And you can see it's jittery here, right there. See it?
Okay.
Look at that. What's going on there?
There is something you can do, Sanford. You can try in a command prompt to run SFC scan now and see if it finds anything to repair.
Yeah.
System file checker.
Yeah.
Scan now.
And there's another companion routine that you do.
Oh, I got to run that under command, don't I?
Yeah. Elevated command prompt, admin.
Right.
And I wouldn't do that while you're in a meeting because you would get logged out. But anyway, DISM and SSC scan now.
All right.
The DISM, you want to do the restore health routine.
I don't. Did the group see that on the screen when it played on painting?
I saw what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a delay that is being caused by some other program interfering with an IRQ.
Yeah. What's the manufacturer of the computer?
Oh, it's a Lenovo.
Lenovo. Yeah, you would definitely make sure the driver and the drivers and BIOS are up to date.
Okay.
Lenovo definitely has a tool you can do that with.
Absolutely, it's built in.
And
through your
you might want to check. You might want to check with one of these programs that finds out if you have OEM crapware on your computer.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that might like to do some stuff to you.
I don't see anything really on here, but I'll double check. I think I got rid of it, the little bit that they put on here.
Did you run something like PC Decrapifier?
No, I didn't, because there was, other than their tools, they didn't put anything on here. I'm trying to see what they put on.
They may not have.
No.
Oh, you know what? On Lenovo's, there can be a touchpad issue.
Okay.
The touchpad driver can be an issue. And that might be something that does need correcting, or select the Windows driver for the touchpad.
Okay.
Because the Lenovo driver is known to cause video issues on some
so
Lenovo's.
they did not load any crap on here. There's really nothing on here.
Good on them. Good on them.
Good on them. I didn't have to really unload anything other than McAfee or something like that.
Yeah, there could be a driver conflict. And if so, it's probably Touchpad. And Bert has a suggestion.
What I find is if I have a lot of things pinned to Edge, that must use up memory, and then I go to copy something to OneNote, and OneNote will then probably go halfway through, especially if there's pictures. If I click on something else in OneNote and then click back, it's there instantly. So you might try clicking somewhere else and then clicking back, and it all of a sudden it works because it's somehow let go of the memory cache or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. All the Chromium-based browsers, whether it's Edge or whether it's Chrome, the more tabs you have open, the more processes you have, and each tab is an instance of the browser. And so see if you've got too many tabs open. I doubt that you do.
No, I didn't. Like tonight, I only had one tab open.
Okay.
So that's not an issue.
I'm still leaning toward a driver conflict.
Okay. Was there any other hands up on this one? Okay. Let's see.
In answer to your question, this XP, it's a 71 gigabyte drive. Ooh. And don't laugh, it's only half full.
71 gig. Well, with XP, that's not unusual to have it only half full.
Yeah, right. And the other thing is, this is a Dell computer, and I'm reasonably certain I have no original disk for this thing anymore. And I know that they made everything proprietary. You don't use their disk, it ain't gonna run. So, I don't exactly know how to deal with that necessarily, but when the time comes, it will come.
Alan, I might have some Dell. I might have a Dell disk someplace for XP, maybe. I'll take a look and see if I still do.
I'd appreciate it.
I used to, but I'll send you a text and let you know if I have one. I just got to remember to find that.
Thank you, Sanford.
You're welcome.
Sanford.
Yeah.
Go.
What'd you find?
Go.
Oh, Pete? Yes.
I was asking what size hard drive that was for Alan.
He said it was a what, 70, 80 gig?
71 gigabyte hard drive.
So under 100 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Gig?
IDE.
IDE drive. NSFT format.
So format's going to matter. Not going to matter if you're going to clone onto it.
Right.
The problem you have with the Dells, you couldn't put a regular hard drive into that because they switched things around. So you had to buy the hard drive directly from Dell. You couldn't go to Micro Center and buy a hard drive, back then when they were all IDEs.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the only program I really want to run there is this financial program, and hopefully this other guy says he can. I'm not sure where he's located, but he's the group leader for this one program. It's called Managing Your Money. It's a DOS program, great program. And he says he can put it all on a stick and run it through his, I don't know, he just runs it through the stick somehow. Because it will not run on anything.
Run it through a command prompt and run DOS, or you could run, what is it? I forgot that there's another DOS program that's out there. Would anyone remember?
Is it anything like DOSBox?
Yeah, like DOSBox. There you go.
Okay. Well, I'm in contact with him, and hopefully I'll.
Yeah,
Alan, you know how to set the sectors in that in BIOS on a hard drive? Because if you put
I haven't done that for 100 years, so I don't remember anymore.
I'm just looking at the hiccups.
It should, hey, Pete, they usually, you can get it to auto-populate, so it should automatically know the sector sizes and the start and the end points. You shouldn't need to do that. They were kind of smart back then at that. I mean, the drives were, and the BIOS was.
Well, listen, at least it isn't first generation.
Yeah.
At least 100 gigabytes. So, you know, that's third generation IDE.
I am very confident that I had 100 gigabyte and an 80 gigabyte drive IDEs that just went right into the recycling. And that was a couple of months ago that I got rid of all those things.
I've still got a box of drives because I took all the drives with me because I was going to take them apart for the platter. Because they make good mirrors.
They do make, and they do.
And that way I keep my data even if I can't use it.
Sanford, one other thing. If you have a mouse and a touchpad or a mouse and a touch screen, their drivers can often conflict.
Okay, so I have a touchpad and a touch screen, no mouse. So
touchpad and touch screen might be. Try
like
turning off the touchpad.
Okay.
Hardware disabled the touchpad.
I'll see if that does anything. Okay.
And if that works, you might
Anyone else have any last questions?
Yeah, you might choose just to leave the touchpad going and the screen disabled, depending on what you like.
Okay. Shall we go into our questions of the list of stuff that I had sent out? And if anyone didn't see it, I did send a docx to the group. If you want to review it, it's in there. Pete, I just want to know, did it snow by you or pouring rain? You didn't get flooded out because you're still there because they were talking about major floods. So,
okay, so just south of us, the town got really wiped hard because whenever anything comes down from the mountains, you just get mad mudslides.
Okay.
So the island got roughly 10 to 12 inches of rain. The snow was mostly locked up to the island of Hawaii above 13,000 feet where they got about 12 inches. So no snow down here. It did get cold. It got down to like 62 degrees.
Ooh.
Ooh.
As we're all shivering, it was 17 degrees here in the Midwest last night.
And the rain, it was what they call a Kona lull, which means it's coming in from the southwest and it's coming in over all of that really moist, warm Pacific water, and it just grabs a ton of water and it stayed stationary here.
But so, you're okay.
I'm okay. Got a little bit of water through the thresholds on the doors here because it was from the south and those doors face south.
Sure. Driving rains.
Driving rains.
And you're not flying to the big island to go walk in the snow because you miss it?
You can't get up there when it snows up on the peaks, immediately the highway department shuts off the roads way below the slow line.
Okay.
Because you know how bad it gets when the first snow in Chicago?
Yeah.
Think of a snow happening up there maybe once every 3 years.
So
and think of the shoulders being vertical on both sides of the street. One up and one down.
Yeah.
They have lawnmowers here that are on the side on tractors on articulated aisles, so they can cut the bushes on the vertical sides of the highway, so they don't overgrow the streets.
Yep.
They've got there's some interesting problems here. Or opportunities, depending on what you want to call that.
All right.
Okay,
We're going to go into
the weather.
We're going to go into things tonight. A buddy of mine found this one today, and I'm going to share this on the screen as soon as I figure this out. Again, share screen, and it's going to be this guy. Okay, share. Amazon Web Services. So I put in the docx that I just posted to the group. It says there, it should say HTTPS status AWS Amazon. If you find out that if you feel that the internet's running slow, you can go to this website and this will tell you any problems with the United States or the world with Amazon Web Services. And today there was some crap going on out east with Amazon Web Services, and they had a lot of problems that they had to work through. And my buddy says that like his Amazon devices in his house were not working today. This is the guy that's got Amazon everywhere in the house. All of his lights are Amazon controlled, everything. And you may recall one time his system reset on him when he was out of town and the whole house is flashing and the police actually came to his house. He says that his Amazon devices, he could not get them to turn on the lights or turn off the lights, or there was only certain things he could get them to do. So there seemed to be some problems. You may want to just have this as a bookmark so you can be aware of what's going on with Amazon and their web services that affect all kinds of products and surfing. I was noticing one of my providers that's out east was being very slow at responding to messages. And I think this was their problem, is they got hit with some of this Amazon Web Service issues.
They mentioned on the news tonight, I think it affected one of the airlines too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. You're probably right. Because, yeah, it talks about the impacts, the regions, the issues, and you can delve more into this. I just thought this was an interesting link, and I just learned about this afternoon, so I thought I'd post this in here. And if you scroll down, you can see what's going on, just like they have North America, South America, Europe, Africa. It's kind of a neat link. Okay. Now, back to this one. Let's go back here. Share. And we'll share this. Okay. And I guess we don't need to talk about what the difference is between a clone and, what's the difference between a clone and an image? Alan, yes.
No, I was going to go back to what you were just talking about.
Yes, the Amazon Web Services.
Yeah. So I don't know anybody that has this particular device, but so Amazon controls all the cloud services to your house.
Yes.
And there is, I don't know if anybody knows about this. A few years ago, I started reading up on this stuff, and it's a little bit beyond me, but there's something called Habitat, Hubitat elevation. And what this is, it's a hub that you use in place of these cloud services. And it essentially is a local cloud service that doesn't leave your house. So any command that you give that goes to the cloud, there's a certain amount of latency as it goes up to the cloud and comes back. This obviates all that, and it resides in this little itty bitty box, you know, where your router is, because it plugs into your router. And it was apparently designed by these geeky guys like us, maybe a little more in the programming area, and it was designed by them for them. And I think the whole box is like 115 bucks. It used to be 99 bucks a few years ago that I remember. Has anybody heard of Habitat besides me?
I'm looking at it online. I could see you could buy them used for 75 up to.
Well, there's different versions of Habitat. The latest and greatest is now whatever it is. And what it does is it uses the Zigbee protocol, all the protocols, and it's essentially you put together these various automation things. It's like there's
look at that
IITTS or whatever it is. Have you ever, you know what I'm talking about?
I'm reading up
Internet of Things kind of.
Alan, may I help you with what this thing does?
Sure.
There is a concept in IoT of edge processing, where you do some local processing. You still have the connection with the main servers, but you do a lot of the processing right there in your home, right there at close range. This is how 5G is going to work with neighborhood antennas as well. A lot of the processing of what you're streaming is going to happen in a box that looks like a mailbox that sits below what looks like a lamppost that has a little antenna on top of it. And it does some local processing, taking the load off of the central servers and reducing latency extremely well. This is absolutely necessary if we ever have automated highways, self-driving cars, or for television services or things that have to happen in real time, or some gaming will need it. And highly interactive services, even our Zoom meetings. If we have something that's just operating locally, or if we have a cluster of people who are joining locally. So edge processing is what this is about.
Well, it seems to me that this is something that if your internet went out completely, you'd still have an operating house because it would all work out of that one little box. I mean,
most of the things you need.
Now, what they do is, not everybody cooperates with them, so they can write software because this is an open system, so that there's a lot of collaboration. And you create little scenarios and say, when I drive by, when I drive in the driveway, the lights go on, or whatever you want to do. You can control the lights to your house. You can control, things like the Ring doorbell, for example, where which went out today, obviously, with Amazon. With this, they haven't gotten the software written for this particular thing yet. They started to, and when it comes out, it says, well, this is our version of it. It may not work so great, but don't blame me if it doesn't. Here it is. You can download it from GitHub or whatever it is, and it's supposed to work with your Ring. Which, if it works, you won't. This outage wouldn't affect your doorbell. So, I don't know. It's something that someone who's a lot smarter than me. Oh, Peter, do you know about this? Pete?
I've heard of this sort of, and it's sort of like an extension of what the scientists in Africa did with mesh networks and the transponders that they put on the animals to follow the herds. So what they did over there is they created micro meshes with the tags that they put on the animals. And when the herd went around, it would record everything the animal was doing. And when it came across a solar powered telephone pole with the transponder to get to the rest, it would then update all its data to the pole. And then the pole would be polled by the scientists. So the animals could go for months without having a connection because everything was held inside the herd itself. And then when it finally found a connection, all the data from the entire herd or from the group would jump across and get refreshed on the computers in the laboratory. And they do this in a number of types of things in industrial complexes, like when they're monitoring bridges and they've got 4,000 sensors on the cable of the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, and they're monitoring temperature and stretch and everything else all the way along to see how it's reacting. But they don't want to have a live stream from every single sensor to the computer all the time. They all go store the data locally at the first transponder site, then they poll that. So a mesh network like what I think you're doing, and they use ZigBee and they use the other short radio protocols. There's like 5 of them out there now that they self-sync to the local hub, and they can have a large amount stored in the local hub. And with memory the way it is now, you can actually put all the data that your house is connecting then, that it uses all the time to talk between the house and the local hub, what you're saying. And then when it needs an outside service, like an alert to your cell phone, it tries to connect that out via the regular internet. So it saves your internet service having the constant contact and allows you to control it if the service from your house, your point of contact to the main computer doesn't work.
Mesh networking is also exemplified by this new thing Apple's got, where it uses direct device-to-device communication to create a mesh, a network locally, which extends the range of what a device can do, like with these tiles that Apple is using, where it uses every iPhone around and pools the resources. That's what a mesh network is able to do. That's where the strength of a mesh network is, and it doesn't use the internet and it doesn't need a centralized server. Whereas this thing is acting as a centralized hub, and it is just simply mirroring what the cloud would be doing if the cloud were available.
That's correct. That's what it does.
And it is open source, meaning it runs on Linux, and it uses ZigBee because ZigBee is open source. But not all devices understand ZigBee.
Well,
some
do. Does not use, it uses like 4 or 5 of those protocols, not just ZigBee, a bunch of them. And in fact, while you're chatting, let me just go online and I can read you some of that.
Okay. So as long as it's not a proprietary protocol, it probably will work with it. It works with open protocols and with protocols that have been published.
So a lot of times the difference between those protocols is the actual radio frequency and the bandwidth it's using on the radio rather than the code protocol going between them.
Yeah, and one of the protocols is Ifttt.
Yeah,
right.
I've got to step out for a half a second.
Yeah, and Ifttt is if this, then that.
Wow, that's a great thing. I appreciate that.
Well, I've got something similar. I've got a hub with my X10 that I can program from my iPhone through the Wi-Fi. And of course, it sends the signals through the wires throughout the house to all the different little modules. But, you know, X10 is over 40 years old.
Right.
Yeah, that's a wired protocol. That's a wired system.
Yes, correct.
But it operates very much the same way. It's a wired hub.
Yep.
And it uses Ifttt.
But they've came out here within the last few years, this little module that plugs into the wall, that's a computer, but it works off of Wi-Fi. So you can actually access it with your phone through Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great stuff.
Does Habitat work with iOS? With Apple? And I don't see that it does.
I do not know, and it would not surprise me if it does not.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't say it does not say Apple on their brands that it works with. So that's too bad because my son's on Apple, and I could see that being beneficial to him. But this is interesting. This is really, really interesting product here.
Even if it doesn't work with Apple, I mean, you have a PC server you can throw this on too.
Yeah. Oh, it could be a software base, or is it a hardware based device?
Well, it's a hardware based device that you plug into your router, but it runs on your phone. You download it, and you download the app, and you create everything runs off your phone.
Okay.
Is there an application that could be put onto a Windows Home Server?
Don't know.
You know, I wish I knew more about this, but you know, again, someone smarter than me can understand this, because this is way beyond my
knowledge base.
I'm not that smart in this. But Bob, I think you sound like you might be able to figure this out.
No, I don't do programming.
No, I think it is.
This is not programming. You don't program with this. Everything is. It's like you there's little tiles that you click on in your phone, and you create scenarios, and you just click in on or off, and at what time or what you know.
Yeah, that actually is a form of programming, but it's object-based programming.
Yes,
which is good.
Sounds like that.
But if you want to know more about it, you just look on GitHub. Look on GitHub. See what the project
suppose
says.
I could even call them and see if it's compatible with a Mac if I'm that interested. Or there may be somebody in my area who is knowledgeable about this that can just, can hire him to have them set it up and figure it out for you. And then you become, because I don't know anybody that has this, although I've heard about it for like years. Anyway, it's a thought.
I think it's a great thought. Okay. Yep. Now let's go on to our other topics for the night.
We were going to do clone and an image.
Yeah, what is the difference between a clone and an image? Or is it a play on words? Anyone? Any thoughts?
They're different.
They are different. Okay. I think a clone is making an exact copy from one device to another device, and an image would be from one device to another device, but it could also be the same device, but it's more like a snapshot.
Okay.
Right? And a clone would be sector by sector.
Clone is sector by sector.
Right.
Yes, it is.
And an image is file by file.
Clones are snapshots of everything, every sector.
Right.
Whereas, as we were discussing with Macrium Reflect, it does intelligent sector copying, which means it only copies the sectors that are in use by the system. And this results in tremendously smaller file sizes. Also, most clones are not compressed, whereas most images are, up to 40%. And also a clone, you can restore directly to the disk with just about anything. It's not a proprietary, it's usually not a proprietary file type. It's basically, you've got another disk or partition that's just exactly like the original, and anybody's software can take that and copy it. Whereas if it's an image, it's apt to be in a proprietary format, and only specific software can use that format.
For instance, when I was making my Macrium Reflect, sorry if I'm killing the words, image of my hard drive to my server, it took a snapshot and only took the data and excluded all the blank space between and stored that in a compressed format on my server. A clone would have been an exact copy sector by sector.
And your image stored all that with an index that is in a proprietary format.
Right.
And the extension is .mrimg, which is unique to Macrim Reflect.
Got it.
So you won't be able to restore it with Clonezilla. Now, Clonezilla only uses things like tar.gz, which is a very common compression format. So Clonezilla is more universally restorable, but Macrim Reflect does technically a better job. It tends to be more precise. It's more likely to succeed in restoring.
Okay.
And also, if you're willing to pay for the paid version, you can snatch individual files out and restore those.
Okay, I think we covered that one. All right, there's other things in my list here. Is there something people would like us to talk about?
Yeah, the update on 21H2.
All right. Do we need to open this or should we just ask Bob?
No, we need to open that one. This is complicated. This is complicated.
I just got that this last week.
I did too, and there are experts who are recommending hold off.
Yeah.
Okay, share.
I have run into a couple of issues. Maybe more than a couple.
Bob, you look for those issues. I think you have you have the nose of a beagle for finding these issues.
That's because I use all kinds of freeware and I update it frequently.
I'm not, this is just saying you have a nose of a beagle. That's a compliment there.
Yeah. If you use enough utilities, you'll find bugs in everything. Even Linux.
Windows 10, November 2021 H2. Oh wait, which version did I say I had?
21H1, that's spring. That one's stable.
Yeah.
That one's stable.
Okay, stable, right. Do not put in 21H2 yet, right?
Most people are saying you shouldn't.
Okay, so it says it's a small service pack for 10. And insiders. Oh, it's still on the insiders thing. Got it.
No, it's been released.
No, it's
early in November. It got released.
Yeah,
19th.
Later in November.
Fixed an issue with Search Indexer. Change the functionality of new activity into a timeline. When you sync your activity history across your devices. What the? Oh, this is when you're using you're linking all your accounts together.
When you sync.
Got it.
They're assuming that Microsoft assumes you have a Microsoft account, you log in with it, and you sync everything to all your devices. All of which are complete swing and a miss for me.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing the guy's doing a demo or whatever.
Terry.
Terry. The guy's doing a demo on
Mute
Windows
yourself,
10,
Terry.
They can see you. You can see.
Well, yeah.
I gotta mute Terry. He likes to talk to his wife while he's working. Anyways, so what else we got here? Add a new policy that creates generic strings and removes branding specific terms such as window. What is this? This looks like garbage.
For enterprises, they can remove the Windows branding.
Oh, okay. Thank you. What else did they have here? Adding WAPA 3. Oh. They're adding WPA 3.
Yeah.
So that's a new security, enhanced security.
They don't want you, they don't know.
So they're adding a new security
But you have to hear. Why would I
Well, I
hear?
know, I can't because
if sorry, got distracted there for a second.
Yeah.
If you have a new Wi-Fi router that supports WAPA 3, then this will work with that. Does anyone know if Wi-Fi routers are out with WPA 3?
They are, but there's very few of them.
Okay.
I think that's what I just got.
What was that, Wayne?
I just got a new router from, it's a AX6 Nighthawk.
Okay.
And it's supposed to work with, you know, on my Xfinity, because it told me my my present router is not compatible now with their latest speeds.
Do you have the box right there?
Yeah.
We can't see it because of your.
Yeah, let me turn off my.
Turn off your background thing.
Yeah, let me turn off.
We don't need to see that ship. You're not
Yeah.
satisfied today, are you, Wayne?
Here, let me get.
I realize you own that ship.
Yeah.
GPU compute support for subsystems for Linux.
You skipped Windows Hello for Business.
Here it is.
Windows Hello for Business allows businesses to have passwordless deployments.
Okay, look at that picture he's got there. Where are there
There you go.
antennas? Are there antennas on that thing, or are they all internal?
No, it's all internal.
Okay.
And this has got the router as well as the modem.
Okay, now that's from Comcast?
No, I bought this from Costco.
Oh, it's a Netgear.
Yeah, it's a Nighthawk.
Oh, it's a Nighthawk.
Nighthawk.
Is that compatible with Comcast? Because they told me to get a different one. I just got one. It wasn't that one.
No, Comcast has X5. They have
they
have a different one.
Right. They have an SB 800 or something or other.
Something like that. They have two different kinds.
Hey, Wayne, tell us what the specs are. Read the specs on the side panel.
Hang on here.
Or somewhere on there. Tell us what the features are.
It's built-in DOC SIS 3.1 technology.
Oh, DOCSIS. All right, so we'll
3.1.
Yep, that's 2 times better performance built-in cable modem router. Let's see.
That's the modem side of it.
Right, it's got the modem in it. 4 gigabit ports. It's got a powerful processor, 1.5 gigahertz dual core processor. Smart Connect, Wi-Fi 6 support.
Okay.
All current Wi-Fi devices.
Wi-Fi 6 is beyond AC.
Right, that's for low power devices, like your IoT devices.
No, Wi-Fi 6 is just simply a lot faster, higher bandwidth.
Right. It's
higher frequency band.
Right. Backward compatible to Wi-Fi 5. Wi-Fi 5.
Yeah, backward compatible.
And I think it's backward compatible to the DOC SIS 3.0. So
yeah, both on the modem side and on the Wi-Fi side, right?
Yeah. So it's really the modem is actually the Netgear AX 4700, I think it is. Oh, 2700.
Okay.
And does that have VPN in there too?
I don't think it does.
It may not say it, but it probably does.
Okay.
You skipped over whether or not it says WPA3.
Yeah, I'm trying to find.
It's probably somewhere there.
Technical built.
Nighthawk AX6.
Oh, here it is. 802.11 AX dual band Wi-Fi. Let's see. 802 backwards compatible.
So it's a cable modem router.
Right.
Okay.
See, now this was under the subject, did anyone get anything new? Which I didn't ask, but now we know.
Well, we're getting the answer.
Well, I think it's out here, WPA 3.
Yeah.
Yep. Personal provider provides more security. So it's
And
WPA 3 it has that.
What
Firewall
model is,
pardon?
what model is it?
Wi-Fi protected access
It's the
Wi-Fi
AX6, Nighthawk AX6.
AX6.
And it uses the AX2700 router, which is built in.
How much was it, Wayne?
Hang on.
Okay, I got it.
It was
$329.
$249.99. I got a $50 discount from Costco. It cost me $212.49.
Wow.
And free shipping.
That's like $110 off of the retail price.
Yep.
Nice deal there. That's a good deal.
Well, I've got a Costco account, so it's.
This looks like a sweet little box.
Yeah.
I don't see if I haven't found if it's got VPN in there, but it might take a little digging to see. But this sounds like it's going to scream through. You'll be surfing the web so fast, it'll be incredible.
But what happened is my service has been upgraded to like 800 gigs, and they're telling me that with my current router, I can't get the 800 gigs.
Yeah, with your current.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have DOCSIS 3.1.
That's correct, because it's only got the DOC SIS 3.0.
Hey, Wayne,
That's right.
What are you doing that you need 800 gig line running into your house? Are you publishing?
No.
Are you doing like a lot of video stuff? If you're
not really.
Not really.
What it really says is it's certified with Xfinity to speeds up to 800 Mbps.
Right.
Spectrum service, 1 gigabit.
Okay.
Yep.
In other words, here in the Boston area, Fios would have a faster speed than Comcast.
Probably.
Than Xfinity.
So there's the box. There's probably more to be found when you dig into it. After you get it up and running, let us know.
But I got it for what I tell you,
figure 200, 215 or something like that.
Yeah, $212.49.
Yeah, good price.
Yep.
And you control it from the palm of your hand, and it's got some kind of security built in, lots of security.
Yeah, it says WPA 3H2E.
Yeah, but there's additional security.
Yeah.
It's got firmware security in there too.
Yep. So apparently it says that this was released in August.
Yep, it would have to be pretty recent. And it's probably meant to correspond with when people upgrade their devices to Windows 11.
Yeah.
So we have more on this changelog that we're looking into.
Yeah, I was trying to see if there was anything in here that was really wonderful, and I haven't seen anything.
There isn't anything earth-shaking in it.
Well, the other thing is it's got several connections, USB connections or whatever.
Yeah.
My current modem only has one.
Yeah, you got a great router modem in there. It's also known as a gateway.
Yep.
And it's really, really nice. Well worth what you paid.
I think it'll probably work better up in my office here too, because I get a pretty weak signal in my office because I run it on 5G.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you run it on, no, 5 gigahertz.
That's what I meant. Yeah, 5 gigahertz. Yeah.
5G is something else.
5 gigahertz falls off the further away you get from the router.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
2.4 gigahertz works in my office, but it's not as fast.
Correct.
But I've got all my other things hooked up on 2.4 because a lot of the other IoT things only work on 2.4.
Oh, so they enhanced in this build here. They also said they enhanced with Microsoft Defender.
Good.
Yes.
I guess that's good.
Some of that is enterprise only, but some of it is also for all of us regular users.
Okay.
I'm looking into Bleeping Computer, see what they say is new.
I like the name of that website.
Yeah, well, they are where you go if you have something going wrong with your PC and you can't figure it out and you think it might be malicious.
You know what? I just turned to Bob and I seem to get all the answers I need.
And I turn to Dr. Google and I get all the answers I give you. It's just that I have this eye for what's necessary in Google and what's not.
There is some good stuff in here, but nothing, like you said, earth-shattering. So,
well, the support for WPA3 is new, and that's good.
Okay. That's good.
There's a new hash protocol, which is also good for security.
Okay.
Simultaneous authentication of equals prevents side channel attacks, and the side channel attacks are called Dragon Blood.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I haven't taken it out of the box and hooked it up yet because I want to wait till I have a chance where I'm not going to be wanting to use the internet.
It shouldn't take you long to set that up.
I know.
There's some other stuff that's technical for businesses that use the Windows subsystem for Linux. And what else?
Which, hey, you know what? This brings up a point here. Let's just kind of briefly cliff note. What is Wayne got to do to set up his new router? He's going to plug it in. Is he going to connect directly to it through a PC? No, he's got to connect his DOCSIS first, his cable to it, right? And I'm talking openly here, and please correct me. First thing he's got to do is find the spot where his Comcast cable service comes in, because he's going to plug that service directly into this router, this cable modem router. I believe at that point you need to have a phone conversation with Comcast and talk to their tech support.
Yeah.
Because they need to configure it remotely first.
Yeah, they need to do something.
They give the credentials and they turn it on and they give them his speed limitations and all the other stuff that they need to do.
Yeah.
Then go ahead.
Yeah, they make sure that it is on their compatibility list.
Right, because they know exactly what I have on there now, because I got an email from them telling me that my current one is no longer compatible with the latest speeds.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't give you the best speeds. It's still going to work.
Oh, yeah, it still works.
Yeah, I don't care with mine. Mine comes from Comcast, and I won't let them upgrade it because I could lose my DVR.
Right. Okay, that's a side note. Let's continue.
Anyway, side note.
So Wayne, after Wayne's done having the conversation with Comcast, then what is he to do next? Anyone want to chime in?
The next thing you need to do is make sure your television services are working.
Okay. All right. Yes, that's right. To make sure you're because Wayne, this Comcast device is supplying the feeds to your televisions, correct?
Well, I've got a splitter where the comes in. You know, my cable comes in the house, it splits up and goes to the TVs. separate from what goes.
Doesn't it have to go through the cable modem first to get to?
No. I've got a splitter.
Okay. Oh, and then you're going to cable boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either boxes or cards.
Okay.
Or smart TVs. Smart TVs don't need a card.
All right. Smart TVs don't need a card. All right. So you'll want to well, then he's not need to double check that.
Okay.
I would say what? You connect directly to the cable modem, the router part?
Yep.
With an RS-232 cord?
Yep.
And you're going to create your main account. You'll first have your initial splash screen, which is going to have your login and your password. You'll want to double check and see what's in the manual. The manual is probably going to say the login will be admin, and the password will either be blank or it's going to be
password,
or it's password, or it might be admin. Then you'll want to get into the device and my opinion would be change the login and password.
Correct. Plus, right? I'm going to change it from Netgear to the names that I've got set up for the house.
Okay.
I actually have 4 different settings.
Okay.
I've got my home, which is on the 2.4, and my home 5G, which is on the 5 gigahertz. And then I've got for a visitor. I've got a visitor.
You got a guest account
for that too.
Okay, Alan, what do you want to say, Alan?
A couple things. First, I don't know if you do this, but I think they tell you to have the username and the password the same for 2.4 and 5, so it switches automatically.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon me?
Yes, I do.
And the second thing is, it was suggested to me by someone or other, I think I read it somewhere, where you should use your guest password for your Internet of Things.
Yes,
in other
correct.
words, all your devices get hooked up to that.
Guest account.
Yep.
So you segregate them.
Right, my thermostat and my bed and my garage doors and all that. Yeah.
And pretty much most of those, if not all of them, are going to run on 2.4.
Yeah, they won't even run on the 5G anyway.
Right. Even if you bought a new item today that's an IoT, it's still going to run on 2.4.
Right. Correct.
Because they're cheap.
Yep.
But they also need the distance and reliability, so they don't need the speed. So he's going to log in. He's going to change the password. He's going to set up his SSID name.
My home.
What your system is going to be called. The next thing you would do, and maybe I jumped the gun here, I would do a firmware update.
Yeah.
Pete, I can't hear you. You're muted.
We go.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. Okay. So if you notice on your routers that are given by Comcast or Spectrum or whatever else, they have the password for the admin printed on the back of the router.
Okay.
So if you're going to change that to give your router more security locally, you should put a tag on the back of it.
Okay, that's not a bad idea.
2 years down the road, and after you've changed the Wi-Fi password 5 or 6 times, you will not remember the password for the router that you have.
Right.
I have a folder that I keep all that information.
I understand that, but folders get lost, pieces of paper get lost, files on electronic media get lost or destroyed. If you have an issue with your router that you've got to go back to the provider with, they're going to need to know that password.
Okay.
The provider doesn't service third party.
What?
The provider doesn't service third party like this one.
No, regardless.
Regardless.
What Pete is trying to say is do something similar to what the commercial routers that you get. Put a tag right on the device, because we're not going to be walking around or leaving the house with our router or your cable modem. So that's a very good thing. Have it written down on a Post-it or a piece of paper and tape it right to the side of it. You could tape on there the login, the password for the router, the SSID, and the password for your system to get into the Wi-Fi. And that one you could put in pencil and scratch out whenever you make a change to it. But those are fantastic ideas, because when we are no longer capable of telling somebody what needs to be changed, because for some reason we got too drunk the night before, we can't speak or whatever. And I know this group is a heavy drinkers here. We're all tanking it up all the time. Go ahead and write it down in there, because then that person will have at their fingertips the important information on how to get in there. I like that.
Well, if you forget, all you got to do is take a pin and reset the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, but that means you got to go through all the work that you've set. Setting it up.
Yeah.
And it's way easier if you got a Dymo label on the back of it to just unhook it from the wall and look at it.
Right.
Or you can put in your password manager as well.
Whatever.
Yeah, but again, password managers, the files can become corrupted.
Yep.
And a password manager is only good if you have connection to the internet to be able to access that password
router,
manager.
Here's my password manager right here.
Yeah, right. There are password managers where you store your database locally.
And we did discuss that at the website or the last presentation.
KeePass cross-platform.
Right. Okay, continuing on. What else has he got to do? He's got to change those. He did a firmware update. He's changed his passwords. Now what?
Connect up your computers and make sure that they can still connect.
Okay. Yep. So
or reconnect them.
If you're using the same SSID and the same Wi-Fi password, all your devices should connect up automatically.
Yep.
And make sure your printers work.
Yep.
There you go. I knew there was another thing there. Make sure your printer, if it's wireless, works. Okay.
Yeah, we got 3 of those.
Okay, so you need to test those. They should connect up automatically too.
Yep.
But you want to make sure that they have no problem. So you don't want to find this out that there's an issue when when the wife says, I need this printed now. And but it's not working. She says, I don't care, fix it.
I take it you've been there, Sanford.
I think we all have.
This is a fact of married life, okay? What else should he need to check on this device?
Okay, so he's been doing all the setup from his computer to the router via a wired network at this point.
I would do that wired first.
Well, if you don't have the wireless hooked up, you can't do it wirelessly.
Well, he has yes, but if you have wireless devices already in the house, they should connect up. But that's the point.
You're changing the router.
Yeah, you may need to reconnect.
Everything is connected to.
Right.
You may need to reconnect your wireless devices.
Yeah.
Right.
And that includes IoT.
Right.
Yep.
Make sure your thermostat is okay.
Oh yeah.
Don't do it on a 30-degree below zero day.
Yeah. No, you can still use the thermostat manually. So.
Yeah.
Or Pete, in your case, if it's 66 degrees or less, right?
62.
62. Don't do it on a 62 degree day.
Don't do it on a 61 degree day.
Yeah.
Make sure the windows are closed.
Right.
Okay. All right. So what else would he want to go in and make any changes to?
If you get your phone through your internet service provider, okay, then you can go down that. So also make sure your phones can connect.
Okay.
If you have cell phones.
The other thing would be is if Wayne is going to choose to use a external backup drive that he's going to plug into that USB port, he'll want to configure and set that up.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I have, we got Xfinity security, and that's tied into the modem.
Oh.
Or it's into the router.
So what is that? Just plug into a port?
Yeah, just plugs into one of the ports on the router.
So you need to make sure that works.
Yep.
Yeah, you may have to set that up again. Because you own the router, the gateway, you're probably going to have to set that up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can always call Xfinity security and have them check it out.
That's a good point.
When the internet's not working on this internet or the security system with Xfinity, it's actually got a little cell phone that works over the phone.
Okay.
Wireless phone.
Okay, so you've got an app.
Yeah.
All right, so he's got that covered. We talked about maybe configuring and hooking up a USB drive so that he could have local storage that anyone has access to. It's kind of a local cloud storage. Good thing.
Yeah, I don't have that capability now because the modem router that I have now doesn't have that many ports.
Okay, so this one does.
Yeah.
This one, so you can stick a hard drive on there.
No.
And it would have to be one that has its own external power source. I wouldn't use a small hard drive because I don't know how much power is going to be delivered through the USB port. So I wouldn't rely on that, shall I say. Then the other thing I would look into is I delve down in and see if there's the capability of doing any VPN. If it does have VPN service. That we discussed slightly before where I said I have it. And if you can set up a VPN, that is nice, Wayne, when you're traveling.
Yeah.
Traveling and you're got to go to a public place like a Starbucks and you're using their Wi-Fi. And I just use it as an example. It could be your hotel room that you're sitting in. You're using their Wi-Fi. I always connect via the VPN to my house and then do my surfing that way. At least I'm encrypted to my home.
So what VPN service you use?
Oh, no, it's the router.
Oh, it's the router. The VPN is in your router?
If it's built into that one, which I don't know, I didn't look into it. In mine it is, and I'm assuming it would be. I guess I could go and look this up.
Well, it's the A2700. So
okay, so this is Netgear or Nighthawk.
Netgear AX2700.
Nighthawk.
Cable modem and VPN. Let's see. I'm looking to see if it's got it. I believe it is built into that router. So
if it is, it'll say Open VPN in all likelihood.
Right, okay. Right. That's going to take a little finagling on your part to figure out how that works. But
sure.
In short, it's a switch that you turn on in the settings, and then you download the certificate, the OpenVPN certificate, and then email that to yourself. And you're gonna have to copy and paste or figure a way of I think you can send it to someplace. And that's what I did, is I sent it. Once I got the certificate, then I downloaded an open source software called OpenVPN, and I put that on my my Wi-Fi enabled tablet and devices.
On your phone, your tablets, okay.
Your phone, it's up to you on your phone because your phone is using cellular. Are you going to use Wi-Fi or are you going to use cellular when you're doing?
I use Wi-Fi when I travel.
Okay.
I use Wi-Fi because AT&T allows the thing to run on Wi-Fi.
Okay, so then you want to download it to your phone and just have it there. And when you need to use it, you open and run the app. And when you run the app, you'll see that it'll come up and it'll say it's running OpenVPN and it's connecting to wherever your service is, which is going to be back to home. The beauty of this, as I said, Wayne, is you're sitting in a hotel room, you're surfing the web, and you are basically sending the encrypted 128-bit encrypted information to your house. And then your house router is rerouting you out to the web.
Out to the web, okay.
Out to the web. So it's not like, and this is not for like doing anything nefariously or illegal or like you're hiding yourself.
Sure.
It's so that you are protected when you're running around the world. And it's like you're sitting in your home doing your surfing. And that's the beauty of it.
And also, if you have one of these set up, you can monitor your house in case your IoT devices decide to go wonky.
Very true. Very true.
Or in
It
case
also
there's
gives you other capabilities too. But I use it when I'm traveling, and I absolutely love it.
Or in case there's an incident involving fire or a break-in, you can then notify your local police.
Yes. So Wayne, after you get this all set up, and if you have questions on how to do the OpenVPN, hold on, I got to mute Pete.
Okay.
When if you have a problem setting this up, bring this up at one of our next meetings.
Okay.
And we can, as a group, help you figure this out on how to do this. Okay.
Very good.
It's not hard. It just takes a few steps that you're not familiar with.
Well, I'm sure I can find a YouTube video on it too.
There you go. YouTube video. YouTube's your friend. Alan.
I've set up my own modem several times in the past. So the one I have now is only several years ago.
Okay. Alan?
So this VPN, when it's built in, differs from the kind you buy.
Correct.
Because this one, well, for example, I used a VPN. I got a VPN years ago because I wanted to watch something that was on BBC, and so I couldn't, without this VPN, I couldn't log on to the BBC because it said you're not from this region, you're not allowed, so forth. So I just got this VPN. It wasn't a machine; it was just software. Logged on to a London server. I registered with a London address, which kind of made up, and I could see whatever I want.
Right.
That's really helpful, I found. But with the built-in, none of that's available to you. Is that correct?
Correct. You're not performing that function. You're surfing locally. Wherever you're at, you are surfing as if he's sitting in Chicago, in his house in Chicagoland. Okay. So whatever services and restrictions he has in his home and in Chicagoland is going to exist wherever he surfs. That is to say, he should not be doing any torrents when he's out traveling, downloading torrents, because Comcast will slap your wrist and cut you off the knees. Okay. But Alan could download torrents because it might be different in England where he's getting that service through. That's the difference between the service that Alan's using and what Wayne is going to possibly use.
And you could probably have both. If you chose to pay for both, you could have both.
You should know. One
on, the other off.
Right. The one you're referring to is one you have to pay for. The one Wayne has, he paid for it. He bought the unit.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and OpenVPN is free.
And OpenVPN is free. It's just an app you download. Android, iOS, it's all available. And
actually, OpenVPN is more of an environment.
Okay.
It's not a complete operating system, but it's an environment in which you do all this stuff. And if you really want to get into it, there's a lot of advanced stuff you can do.
Yep, but I'm not doing that. We just know that it's available, and that's kind of the difference between the two.
Very good.
Very good. And that, I would suggest you set that up at some point. Probably to me is one of the best features I got in my modem, in my router, that Open VPN. I really use it to the max when I am traveling.
Yeah.
Even if I go to a public library around town or somewhere else, and traveling doesn't mean, hundreds of miles away. It could be, a mile away, a block away. When you're at somebody else's house, somebody else's location, and you don't necessarily trust the signal you're getting, use the Open VPN. You've eliminated that problem. You've added.
Well, sometimes when we're traveling, I don't get a good Wi-Fi signal, so I'm able to use my iPad that actually works off the phone system.
Right.
Or on my phone, I can use my phone and don't use the Wi-Fi part.
Right, and that's a good thing because cellular is encrypted.
Right.
So that you can use, and you don't have to worry about OpenVPN. OpenVPN is for Wi-Fi only.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a weird thing that showed up with Cell regarding texting. One of the mid-level players that spanned several carriers was caught spying on text messages, SMS.
Okay.
I think they got rid of that mid-level player, but for years and years, everyone was being spied on.
We're going to move this forward. We're
gonna... one last thing about the Windows 10 feature update. They're no longer going to do twice a year. They're going to do what Windows 11 is doing. It's going to be once a year.
A once a year update?
Yeah. Once a year updates now.
Unless it's a 0 day
feature
or
updates
like that, right?
Feature updates, not the regular monthly.
Right.
Regular monthly and out of band are still going to happen, but the feature updates that everybody throws cat fits about are going to be once a year.
Okay.
So it's going to be like the old upgrades.
All right. We didn't get through 98% of the stuff on my list, which is okay. We filled up this night with a lot of good subject and talk. Is there anything that's really pressing that somebody saw on the list that they're dying for us to talk about?
Oh, Sanford, you might want to look into what to do if your mouse stops working, because it may have some tips on things about mouse drivers.
Okay, mouse stopped working.
You might personally be interested.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has anything useful, but if the cursor isn't doing what it should, things like that.
Open hyperlink. And let's share this one.
Cancel that, yeah.
Oh, these frickin'.
And you can X out the ad. You can X out the ad.
Oh God, the ad.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Oh, look, change the batteries. Well, that might help.
Yeah.
Make sure you're plugged in if it's wired or if it's got a USB. These are stupid things for us, but it is a good thing. If there's a little USB dongle, make sure the dongle is plugged into the whatever device is supposed to receive it. And that your particular device has Bluetooth enabled. So you want to go to Bluetooth and other devices, make sure it's turned on, make sure the device is registered.
If Bluetooth is operating, that's another possible source of a driver issue.
Right. If it is a dongle that you plug into a USB port or any other ports and it sits there all the time, and it's a laptop and you move around everywhere, you may want to try another different USB port, because those ports can go bad from being wiggled and jarred around a lot, and the connections can go bad internally in the laptop. So that's good. That's something to check. What else? Okay, you want to mention drivers. Look, now this is something. In this particular one, they show that he's got 3 different drivers. I've seen this before. Why are there 3 different drivers or 3 instances? And should I remove them?
First of all, it may have been installed 3 different times, so they may be duplicates.
Okay.
So remove all of them, rescan, and if only one comes back up, that's what happened.
Okay.
And that may be the source of your interference right there. The other thing is, if they do all come up, you've got different buses. And they're being driven by the same driver, but it occurs in an instance on each bus.
Okay.
I have several buses on my NUC.
Then the other thing they tell you is to try a mouse pad if you've been working on a different type of surface.
Yeah.
So definitely that helps. Here's a redundant thing. Check for updates.
And just restart the device.
Right, and restart. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
And then, of course, I did say the thing about SFC Scan Now and DISM.
Right. Okay, Bert.
I find that I have a Bluetooth mouse, and sometimes it goes to sleep. So if you go back to the settings, device drivers, and just open that up, all of a sudden the mouse wakes up.
Yeah, and you might want to switch off the green feature or the power saving feature if you constantly have the problem.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that a feature you can turn on and off in a mouse?
It's turned on and off in the driver or in the operating system.
Okay.
And yes, you can do it for particular devices, especially Bluetooth. Bluetooth, you can just generally say enable power saving or don't.
Right.
And it'll often have a little green leaf next to it.
Okay. Anyone else want to talk about mouse?
How about the mice in the walls?
Oh, no, we stop feeding them.
It's a seasonal problem around here. We
Right.
have woodlands.
Yes, we do. Is there anything else? We're going to conclude tonight's meeting, and I want to know if there's any last questions or anything else anyone wants to cover. Also, if you noted in the bottom of my email I sent out, there will not be a meeting for tips and tricks in January. So just aware of that, don't look for it, but there will be a West Side meeting.
Yeah, okay.
And then Alan, I'm going to try to circle back to you. Do you think you can give us the cliff notes of what happened with you and your new little drone?
Well, it's a very interesting story. So I bought this Mini 2, the DJI Mini 2, and I was unable to get it to work indoors because it's pretty damn cold here in Chicago, and I don't want to do this outside. So I figured, well, there must be something on here that makes so I can learn how to fly this thing indoors, because Sanford was kind enough. I went to his house last week, and he was kind enough to show me how to fly it, and it's really kind of cool. So I spent a day for a few hours trying to get it to work, and I couldn't figure it out. And one time it started to actually take off, and I said, oh, wow, this is really great. But then, so I put it back down. I said, now I'm going to figure out a plan. Never get it to work after that. It said restricted, because I happen to live a few miles from Executive Airport. It used to be Pewaukee Airport outside Chicago, and in the flight path. So I was stuck. It said restricted, and enough that I can do. As soon as I try to fly, it says you're in a restricted zone. Too bad. Okay, well, that's good. So I figured, well, I'll call DJI. They know how to fix this, so I can fly this indoors, because obviously, if I'm flying indoors and a plane hits my drone, the FAA has other issues besides my drone. So I'm not particularly concerned. It's kind of like George Carlin when he was the hippy-dippy weatherman, you know? I mean, he said, well, according to the radar, we see the weather, we have some thunderstorms, but we also see that there's a Russian ICBMs coming in. So I wouldn't sweat the thunderstorms. So that's my issue with respect to this plane and my lousy drone. So I called the DJI and they said, well, you got to call up the FAA. The FAA will, will get you all, get you straightened out and you'll be able to fly indoors. Great. So I called the FAA. On the FAA website, there's a special section for drones. And they said, oh, well, you got to call DJI because DJI, they set your restrictions. It's their software. They've got to release that in their software. I said, well, wait a minute. They just sent me over to you. Well, we don't do anything with that. That's their software. That made sense. So went back to DJI and they said, no, you got to call the FAA. You got to get authorization from them. We can't change anything without authorization from them. I said, but I just called them. Don't bother me. So he says, well, you got to call the FAA at your local airport. They'll be able to do that. Oh, okay. So now I call the control tower. I called the manager of the airport, but I was very apologetic. I said, I'm really sorry to bother you about something so trivial as flying my lousy drone indoors, but I don't know what to do. So he says, well, let me, get your name, your address. And oh, I see you here. You're on the map. And there's a tree line. And he said, you should be able, he agreed I should be able to fly this indoors. Obviously, there shouldn't be an issue. So he said, well, when the FAA came out, they had these, with their rule, they put in these big grids. And the grids had very large blocks. He says, they just recently changed it to the much smaller blocks. I see that you have a tree line, so you should be able to fly, below the tree line, even outside your house. So I'm going to go and change the map and include your house so that we can get this to work, so you can fly this indoors. And actually, the reason I actually wanted this drone, which is even better, I'll be able to fly it outside, is because where I live, there's a pond in back of me, and there's a kind of an attached pond in front of me. And the homeowners association has purchased these swans for the season, and they're and they don't come to my smaller pond; they stay in the bigger pond. So my plan was to get this drone and then shepherd them over to my pond by harassing the shit out of them until they come over to me, and then I'll have ponds in my, because they're always at the other pond, and yet I'm paying for them. So I figured, hey, a couple of days they'll visit me. Well, with this change, that should be a workable thing. The problem is, I talked to him like a couple of days ago, and I said, how long will it take? Well, I can make this happen in a few hours. A few hours? Because I said, can you get it done by Christmas? He says, a few hours. They update these databases all the time. Great. Well, as of a half hour before this meeting, it wasn't changed yet. So there's someday, at some point, hopefully, there's going to be an update to the DJI firmware and the map that they use to create these things, and hopefully I'll be able to deal with it. Otherwise, I got to call Curtis over again, the manager of the Hawaii airport, and I got to work with him to get this thing working. He said there's no letter I can give you, we're not set up for that, but he went to see somebody, not upstairs in the building, but above him, to try and find a resolution to this, because he figured, even though I was the only person that ever called him about this, he said, well, Christmas is coming. People are going to be getting drones. I might as well work on it now because I'm going to get a slew of calls. He figured, I don't think so. Drones have been out for a few years. No one's called them. I don't know. But anyway, so that's the plan. I'll let you know if I ever get to fly indoors. Thank you for your question.
That's what you got.
Yes.
I hope to God that next month, when Alan revisits this, it doesn't turn out that the story was he loses control of his drone, goes up, hits a plane, the plane comes down, kills the swans, and everybody's in a big uproar about this thing.
Now, Dennis, you missed this. He's looking to fly indoors. He's
I
not
know.
later on he'll fly outside, but right now he wants to just fly in his basement or in his garage and just tool around, which he could do. This thing is very small. You all have seen mine.
But as soon as he talked about the swans, I realized that's just a ruse about flying indoors.
Yeah. You want swans in your pond, get some ducks.
Okay, and if anyone wanted to know, Newegg had the 3-year-old model, the Mavic Mini 1, refurbished for $200 on sale. Great price. But that's at Newegg, and you probably got to go there today to get it because I think the sale ends tonight. So for what that's worth. And I have that particular one. It's a gas to fly. The picture quality is pretty good, not as good as my full size one, but I'll take it because it just is so handy and small and portable and easy to fly. So for what that's worth.
Yeah,
Any other last questions?
Yeah, does this have like GPS in it then?
Oh, a GPS, altimeter. It's got all the bells and whistles. Well, not all the bells and whistles. I'm sorry. It does not have all of the bells and whistles. It doesn't have all the sensors that will prevent you from crashing forward, backwards, or sideways. But it has GPS, altimeter in there. The earlier model has a 2K camera. The one Alan's got has got a 4K camera. I think it's a 12 megapixel. It does great videos. It does great pictures. It's handy. It's easy. Alan, is that easy to fly?
Actually, it really is, actually, because I did get to fly this a little bit even indoors. Once it determined I was at I only got this to fly twice indoors. The second time, interestingly enough, I clicked the thing and it started to go up. I was as surprised as anybody else. And then about 5 seconds later, it said, "You're in a restricted zone." You got 60 seconds to land this. And so I figured I'd take it up a little further because I was only about 3 feet off the ground. Wouldn't go up. It would only go down. And then I just said, hell with it. I just landed it and called it a day. But
so this has some sort of a database in it that it knows where you're at. And if it's restricted, it won't allow it to fly then.
Yes.
Right. There's actually two firmware updates. One apparently is the firmware for the plane.
Yeah.
And the other is the firmware that tells you where you're
at.
That gives you the zones.
Yeah.
Right. And that one's dynamic. That changes, like Alan said, it's almost daily.
Yeah.
That database changes. And what the company wants you to do is have a cellular connected device like an iPhone or an Android phone or something as your visual interface, as your controller, because that you have to provide your own device that's going to run the app, the software on there. So you're going to want to have that loaded on there, and that's going to update all the time with that database. So if that helps.
So that prevents you from actually flying the thing around like the airports.
Right.
It prevents you from flying more places than you would believe. National monuments, national parks. It will prevent you from flying in restricted zones that the FAA has determined. It could be military locations. You can't fly near those. All that stuff is in this database. There are some things that it doesn't know, like are you flying by a railroad tracks, which you're really not supposed to fly over railroad tracks because they're part of the infrastructure. It's like you're not supposed to fly around a water tower because that's infrastructure. But there is databases in there that's fairly extensive for the entire U.S., Canada, Mexico is all in there.
Now your old drone doesn't have that in it, does it?
It's actually, it's not, it's in the software itself. It's in the app. It's in the app that comes from. So the app is updated to contain that database. So it's and the app communicates to the drone. So Alan, if you possibly can turn off your location services on your phone, you may be able to fly it. Try that. I don't know if they'll let you do it. I have never tried it, but I think that may
Do you think that the location is based on my phone?
Yes.
Which obviously I can turn off?
Well,
or is it in the controller?
It's in the phone. Because the database comes to the phone, it tells the craft what to do. But the actual RC control and the GPS and everything else is in the craft. But the phone has the maps in there. And the maps are what's related to that database.
Well, maybe I should, is there a way I can delete the cache in my phone? Maybe, would that help, you think?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't believe that would be it because it updates that database periodically.
Yeah.
And the API, that is the app, is reading that database, looking at where you are on a map and determining your restrictions. Yes or no, are you in a class C airspace, class B airspace, what is your ceiling, et cetera, et cetera. But that's the app is determining that, and it tells the craft what it can and cannot do.
You might be able to turn off the location services for that app.
I said you may.
Well, that's what I'm going to try after this meeting. I'm going to try that, and I'll text you if it works. I don't think it's going to work, but I'll give you a text.
It's worth a shot. It's only going to take you 2 minutes, a couple minutes to do.
Yeah, true.
Right.
True.
So, anybody else got any last things? Alan, thanks for the comical story. We really enjoyed it. And I want to wish everybody a happy holidays.
Great, yeah.
Happy holidays, guys.
Happy holiday.
And
happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, and thanks for attending.
Take care.